a current probationary volunteer EMS assistant and exterior support firefighter with the Shepherdstown Fire Department. And I am here today to discuss my perspective on the discussion surrounding the future of emergency services in Jefferson County. But first, if I may, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 27 years old. I'm a student at Shepherd University. But most importantly, what I want to tell you today is that I have cerebral palsy. And the reason that's so important, I face much adversity and many challenges in my life, especially regarding how I socially interact with people. And the membership and leaders at Shepherdstown Volunteer Fire Department have changed that so much. All I asked them for was a chance to serve my community and to prove that I could do this job, and they did that. Where my concern with the current conversation is that I feel as though it's not very productive. To kind of give you a metaphor to explain it, I kind of feel like the current conversation is like a dog chasing its tail. We're doing a whole lot of work and accomplishing absolutely nothing. And by the time the dog gets its tail, the only person that's hurt is itself. And I kind of feel like that's exactly where this conversation is headed. One of the things that I have noticed is that it seems as though the criticism of the experts in their fields, the volunteer fire departments, the leadership of those departments, I don't feel is being taken very seriously. And truthfully, if you haven't ridden on an ambulance and given someone CPR while they aspirate on their own vomit, as I have, if you haven't gone into a burning building, as some people in this room have, I truly don't think that you understand what it honestly is going to take for us to better the services that we offer. The truth of the matter is, what we are obligated to do is serve our community, to make our community better. And the only way that that's going to happen is if the county commission, the ESA, and the volunteer leadership work together, rather than saying, this is what I want, no, this is what I want, no, this is what I want. Why don't we sit down and have an amicable conversation about what the minimal level of care must be? That is to say, what level of service we have to provide at all times, 24/7, 365. From there, I feel we can discuss the more finite points of what the future of emergency services in this county looks like. So I feel that we need to set ego, bravado, and pride aside to have an open, honest, amicable, and just a real discussion that puts the community first, that doesn't put the commission first, that doesn't put the volunteer houses first, that doesn't put the ESA first, that puts the people that we serve first. Because as public servants, that's our moral obligation. And it's really easy, I feel, to pay to have a study done, look at some data and say, this is what we're going to do. But what's difficult is to sit down and say, okay, here's the data we have. What's correct about it? What's wrong about it? Let's have a conversation. Sometimes we're going to agree. Sometimes we're going to disagree. But doing the right thing is not easy. Doing the right thing for our community is having that difficult conversation and understanding that not any single one of us is going to have the correct answer. The only way that we're going to come up with a solution that betters our service, that betters our community, and keeps response times low is to have that open discussion, to agree that there's going to be things we disagree on. And when we come across a disagreement, let's hash it out. Let's not throw arrows and say that volunteer houses are lying about their engagement, or that the ESA doesn't do this, or that the commission isn't seeing this. Let's just stop fighting, stop chasing our own tail, and have a real honest conversation about what we need to do. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, thank you for your public comment. Approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look them over?
Make a motion, we approve minutes from last month.
Have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes have been approved. Nothing from the chairman's report. IAFF? Nothing? Okay.
Oh, please skip the treasurer's report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I skipped right over it. Thank you.
Steve and I had a conflict. So As of today's date, we have $553,000 in the general account, 24,258 payroll, $599,379 in ambulance fee, $121,910 for the mortgage. The income shows general fund of $3,019,138. The ambulance fee income shows $915,360. TB Association, 3,514. CARES, ARPA, 137,815. Shares of assets is 0, and others is 5,620. As of last month's meeting, Director Berner and I signed 11 checks for a total of $48,678.88 for the month of March. So far this month, Director Berner and I have signed 10 checks for a total of $9,619.42. That's my report.
Thank you. Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, we accept the treasurer's report. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion passed. Sorry for skipping you, gentlemen.
That's all right.
JCRFA report. Chief Morton.
Me, okay. Just to follow up from the last past month, we did meet the association with Steve and Claire, two commissioners. All in all, it was pretty good discussions, with the exception of if it was only, it was asked one time, was asked numerous times by Steve that, are we willing to sell the ambulances? So at the end of the meeting, it kind of felt like, and we all felt the same way, that what we discussed kind of went in one ear and out the other ear, because the last question he had was, were we willing to sell the ambulances? But, you know, that's where he ended. But we talked about a lot of things. We talked about the building, the pros and cons, of building of one person, the county or versus MCA. We talked a little bit about the levies or fire fees, touch base on the impact fees and different things like that. And at the end of the meeting, we did decide that we would come up with a smaller committee, in which we did, because we thought it'd be a smaller, including Stephen and Claire, and it'd be a little bit more productive. So that committee was set. And then we had, that committee has met twice. The first committee meeting was, the overall discussion was ended up that we would have, Steve would ask Bob to come up with a plan as far as how many ambulances and where would it be, staff, and to present that plan. And then we'd also decided that Bob would get the plan together, bring it back to the committee. We could hash it out, debate it, whatever it was, and then take it to the commission. Well, however, Steve's being very impatient, couldn't wait that long, so he took it to the commission before us, which we all felt that's very unfair, but irregardless, it did that. So this last meeting we just had, we did have a plan with 3 options that we presented to both Claire, not Claire, I'm sorry, she was absent. But we did present it to Steve. The same plan that we've been working on for about the past 3 months, but we finally got all the tweaks out of it. So that is now in Steve's hands, the committee. I don't know if he's got it, but the rest of them yet or not to you all. And we had asked that we let Marshall and Adam Watson present this Thursday commission meeting, put on the agenda. But for some reason, he said he had to get permission. I don't know why a commissioner has to have permission to put them on the agenda. So, and again, we thought that was a very good idea, because I was afraid that Steve would not get it portrayed like it should be, because he hadn't portrayed everything faithfully in the past. So that Chief Mood decided to suggested that, so we all, yeah, it'd be a wonderful idea, so we had asked. But we have not seen anything on the agenda, so we don't know for sure if Marshall and Adam are allowed to be there at the commission meeting to present the same plan that we presented that night. We would like it to be that way, because that way we have a good discussion with all 5 commissioners. So that's pretty much where we are right now. And we do meet again on the 28th, next Thursday. So I don't know, Trish, do you have any input on that?
So when Steve's saying he needs to ask for permission, actually, the president of the commission sets the agenda, so I don't.
Well, he said he had to get with the other commissioners and get their feelings, and I couldn't understand why you had to. Why couldn't he just put on the agenda and ask request?
Well, he can put the request in, but I'm just saying the president of the commission usually sets the agenda and makes a judgment call. I don't know if that transpired or happened, but that's
Right.
what usually happens with setting the agenda for the commission.
Yeah, the only thing I've seen on the agenda was under old business, was to fix the whole thing. But
And that might be where everything, where he might present the.
right, and he may, I don't
Yeah,
know, but they, both Claire and Steve had the whole PowerPoint, I think we went over. We built a very good plan, with 3 options, 1 being the best, so that's what we really emphasize on. So we'll just go from there, so hopefully you all have a good discussion on Thursday. Like I said, we can meet again on the 28th.
Is there a way we can look at the options that's being presented? Like from the, I guess from what Bob came up with,
So, and I just want to do a point of clarity for what Bob presented to commission. It was a recommendation. It wasn't an actual plan. So Bob didn't present, he presented 2 options.
Yeah,
So on a recommendation, it wasn't actually a plan. It was what he pulled together based on directive from Scholar for a recommendation on an option A and an option B. So
I wouldn't even call it a plan because I was of the position that I didn't have enough information known to me to develop anything that looked like a plan. So mine was more just generalities. It
I
was-
just heard, and you can correct this if not, I just heard one of your plans took the ambulance service off of the mountain. And that was a concern to me, because I will fight that with whatever I can.
As a board member, I'd appreciate it if when you came to these meetings, you would come being able to say what you saw, what you witnessed instead of what you heard. Because this is the second meeting in a row now you've come to us with, I heard. And if you watch the meeting, I would have.
Yeah, I wasn't at the
explained all
meeting,
that.
sir, and I wasn't there. I didn't make the meeting, so I'm asking, that's why I'm asking right now, can we see what you had?
In general, what I said was that the primary locations where we would look at placing ambulances were based on response times and the call volumes in the area. So I suggested we place something in the vicinity of Station 2. I don't remember the exact locations. I pulled up basically the latitude and longitude points, because at that point, it was not made clear to me that that space in the volunteer stations was going to be available, or if any of them were going to be available, or if the cost was going to be prohibitive or not. So as I recall, we were looking somewhere around Route 9, Charlestown, probably, I believe it was east of Charlestown. We were looking at the Kearneysville area and the Shepherdstown area, but that was, again, very general. And when I presented that, I also explained that if occupying space in the volunteer stations, putting ambulances in those stations is an option, then basically these generalities are sort of moot, because it will depend on where the commission and the volunteers agree that space can be used. And any one of those that was a yes or a no could affect the others when you're trying to get response times lined up and place limited resources across the county. So does that make sense?
Yes.
So I really can't tell you a yes or no on a particular station. There was also discussion in the information that the fire departments presented to the commissioners about sharing of
of some of the funding that we received from billing. There was discussion about just to touch on some basic things where the county would own the ambulances was one plan. One plan was joint ownership. Some county ambulances, some departments owning ambulances if they chose to do so. And then others, the third one was to remain, all the ambulances remained as being a part of the fire department.
Is there an objection or an issue with sharing what the three options with this board?
No.
That's what I would recommend, is just email the board what they provided to Stephen
So
Claire.
we can look at that.
So you can actually look at what is being proposed as far as what based on the assumptions that Bob had before him and the two plans, that was in the last commission packet. That you can
Yeah,
take a
what,
look at that.
what thing you're speaking of is three, is what Fire Rescue Association put together, not to get too cheap. But yeah, we can,
I think it would be wise to just share that with the board, this board,
yeah.
so that they can see what
How
you.
about if I just send it to Debbie,
Yes.
can you just first it up?
Yes. That's better, I think, Twiggy, is just so
Yeah.
people can read it than trying to.
Yeah,
explain
that's
those
fine. I
options.
was just trying to give a
Yeah.
rough overview of what that was.
This is the proposal that we presented at our last committee meeting with Steve and Claire.
Okay.
And it's like, it's one plan with three options. And
Chief
he-
Morgan, I have it. I can give it to Debbie to send out.
Oh, okay,
You're okay with that?
Yeah, would you?
Now, is that public information, or is it pretty much understood that we should keep that just between the board?
It's gonna be public Thursday, I
Just
guess.
wanna make sure.
Yeah, if it's presented at the commission meeting, it'll definitely.
Anything else? Chief Morgan?
No, but just like on that plan, just like they do, in case they can't present it, the emphasis that the Fire Rescue Association has is we really emphasize plan or options C. So when you read it, you'll,
Keeping it as is.
yeah. Well, it is as is, but yet it's revenue sharing back. Right?
Got
And there was also a part of it, and you guys will see it when it's sent out to you, about getting additional firefighter help,
Yeah, but we just remember about
So-
the idea about secret grants and stuff like
to
that.
funding safer grants, that sort of thing. Of course, with the safer grants, we have to get the commission to go on board, because after so long, they have to take over those, so.
They kind of combine everything in one lump sum, so to speak, for the future. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Director's report, Director Brenner.
I have nothing other than Captain Horn has something to share. You do? TB grants, MSA.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We just recently were awarded the TB grant. We've been participating in that for the last several years, and we were able to purchase several air packs for training. So we have 2 of the 3 different kinds of air packs that we use in the county. So that's just a additional resource we have. We can kind of be sure if we stay in the firefighting business that we can train all of our people appropriately. So that's about a $12,000 to $14,000 purchase of those 2 things.
Good. Anything else, Director Brenner?
We're having I mean, I guess this is just par for the course. We've got an issue right now, the no water at the public safety building as of yesterday morning. That's like our temporary housing for the folks that work on the mountain. And so yesterday morning, they found they had no water, and in contacting maintenance, we discovered that the school board provides the water to that building. They have 3 tanks and had a pinhole leak in each one. So they shut things down to repair it because it's spring break, but they didn't mention that to maintenance, if they plan to do that. So we're just in the dark. So Laura Kuhn, the director of maintenance, sorry, it's Fleet and Facilities now, has been in close contact with them and they have assured us that it will be corrected by tomorrow. In the meantime, the staffing from the Mountain and Ambulance 5-1 are hanging out at Station 2, and we hope to have them back up on the hill tomorrow.
All right,
The offer, I will, in full disclosure, the offer was made by the school board that our folks could have access to bathrooms and water in the school. And I declined that offer because we're already like in temporary satellite housing for our people. And now we would have another temporary to get water. And I also didn't really think it was a safe idea to have our folks wandering through the, the dark of night to use the restroom. just, I appreciate the offer, but it was not workable.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
all righty. Unfinished business, we have none. Unless someone can think of anything. New business, Steve Harris has requested to talk about the committee appointed to meet with the commission about the Fitch report.
I had sent a letter back after I saw the people who had been reported. I was along with our Chairman Simpson. Both of us had attended the very first meeting together. After that, it was determined that a smaller board would be created. And after that board was created and come out, through nothing against, Chairman Simpson, that he had been appointed to that board. My letter came in simply saying that as a member of this board, that I felt whoever attended that meeting or those meetings should be somebody who was in a neutral status, that was not involved as a volunteer fire person and had not been involved in any conversation with any fire department at that time that had maybe rubbed things the wrong way. That was the only thing that my objection to the existing committee that had been established. That's the only reason for that. Since then, Chairman Simpson and I have talked. There's no problem between he and I. So I wanted to clear that up right away, that we don't have an ongoing issue. That's the only reason that I had put that letter in, that as this board sets, that I feel that we have to, because of what we do, I feel that we need to be neutral in this negotiation that's happening. So that's why I put the letters through. The second item that I wanted to talk about was, sadly, the fatal accident that happened down here at the intersection by Home Depot. My wife was the first unit owner. No, she wasn't a unit. She was the first person on the scene. And she was the person inside that car that was trying to revive that young lady through CPR. Little to our surprise, when some units started showing up and law enforcement started showing up, we discovered that law enforcement nowhere in this area that we can find or in this state is required to carry AEDs or even have AEDs, which I find very disturbing coming from law enforcement. Since that has happened, we have had a discussion with the local sheriff's department, and we have found a company that is, it looks at this time, is willing to actually donate AEDs and possibly even the training and certifications for these pieces of equipment to local law enforcement. So that is still in the works. But however, I was greatly surprised. My wife was really surprised to find out that they didn't carry these equipment. Coming from law enforcement, we did. And when I was chief, every officer that I had went out with an AED. So hopefully, as sad as this situation was, something good will come out of it. As good as I guess you can get, in the fact that, if another officer or a volunteer fireman is on the scene of something, there's an AED readily available that could even change and save the life of a fellow officer or a fellow fireman. So that was my only reason I wanted to bring that up. So hopefully we're going to be able to do something good for the community and for the law enforcement. And that's all I have.
I think it's a good idea.
If there's anything this board can do, I mean, we could write a letter to the company or whatever to maybe help. If you can think of anything, just let us know.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can we go back to item 1 under new business on the committee? So how was the smaller committee decided or determined who was going to be on that committee?
I bet you I'll be back on my lap.
Yes, it would.
And we met, we decided to make a small committee and Steve went with me, but I gotta have time to think. So I got back to him the next day or two. And the reason I picked, who I picked was, it'd be easy for me to tell you the reason I did not pick. I did not pick company 7 because they had stated they were gonna get out of the ambulance business. I did not pick company 2 because they are very inactive in association for the past number of years, very disengaged. I did not pick company 5 because company 5 is part of the biggest problem in this whole ordeal anyway, as stated by several commissioners. So I thought that one was a very good idea. So that's where I come up with the 4 fire departments. I kept myself on it as the ex officio. I'm not a, if anything had come to a vote, I don't vote. And then I called the chairman of the board, which is Twiggy. I said, feel that somebody on this board needs to be on it. So it's up to him, either himself or pick somebody. That's how I came to play. And of course, it's Stephen Clark.
And Twiggy, are you like a voting member on this board?
We've not voted on anything.
Yeah, so putting this plan together,
But-
I guess my concern is that the last meeting, a letter was generated by this board, but we didn't, and an invitation was put out for members of this board to participate in this, but we didn't really appoint anybody to sit as a representative of this board on that committee for the interest of the ESA or this board. So is that something we want to do? Or I'm asking what, I mean.
If you
what's
all
the
want
purpose
to,
of
if you
you
all
saying-
want to remove me, that's fine.
No, it's
But
not.
what
removing
I'm
you.
saying, what I'm
just
saying
that
is-
The board should appoint someone to sit as a representative of the board in the ESA.
How do we appoint somebody if we don't know what the ESA board is, what our positions are? Because we're very adamant last week, we weren't gonna take that.
This is just
We
a
went back,
discussion
yeah.
for a plan on this committee. That's what I'm
I-
suggesting.
I agree with you. though.
For an
I
interest
I
on the
agree with
committee.
Steve, though. I do think it should be a citizen's representative for a number of reasons, just from partiality. And that's not a dig at any, that's just, if we are gonna appoint somebody, it should be a citizen's rep.
well, I can tell you all this, that 100% for sure, this board and the JCESA over the past several years has had an excellent relationship with the fire departments. I don't want to see that decline. And I'm afraid that this whole situation could cause that to decline. And I will fight to make sure that it does not, because not for us, not for the fire departments, but for the public. We need to keep strong for the public. We need to be able to serve the public.
Would it, and I mean this with serious respect, would it be fair to say, though, they're being partial for you to be on that board in lieu of a citizen's representative? I'm not saying, I'm just a middle of the ground type of, I mean, obviously, I get it, you guys are gonna support the firefighters and EMS, I got that. But I'm just thinking, the best way to serve the public is to be transparent and be impartial and make the logical choice. And I feel like a lot of these discussions I've seen have always gone like with emotion or with like, I know this guy, or I know that guy. I'm not saying this, I mean, I think you're a great rep, but that's not what I mean at all. But yeah, I'm just of the opinion that I think it should be someone who is impartial, or at least not leaning one way or the other. I mean, if anyone else wants to speak to that, if I'm out of line, please tell me. That's just me.
Well, I guess I'm asking what's your involvement in sitting on that committee? Are you just a bystander? Because the board didn't appoint anybody to really sit on that committee. It was open to everybody to sit. And I'm not beating you up. I understand your intent and your interest and all that. I'm just of the same mindset. I think the board should appoint somebody to sit on there.
Well, first of all, if we have a vote on anything, the way it's set up in the Fire and Rescue Association, one department, one vote. And I'm sure that that's the way that the committees operate as well. One department, one vote.
Yeah, but I don't think all the departments are represented on that committee.
They're not.
No.
So that, I guess that's another concern because you're not just talking about EMS, you are including fire.
But I just told you why. And not only that, but every month we have Fire Rescue Association meeting. And all the minutes are sent out to all the departments involved. They all know what's going on. It's not our fault that they're not engaged. And the whole purpose was to try to keep a slimmer committee to make it more productive. So I got the majority of the 7, which is 4 people, 4 fire departments rep. Which is Marshall from Shepherdstown, they got Adam Watson from 4, Chief Hughes from 6, and
Chris.
and Chris Sicken from Company 1. Again, I'm on it because I'm the chairman of the Fire Rescue Association, but I'm just the ex officio.
Right, but so, okay, and so back to the point you made earlier was Bakerton is talking about getting out of fire, the EMS, but they're not getting out of fire. So, and if you're presenting plans that still include a combination of ambulance and fire coverage, I would think each one of the fire departments would want to be involved in whatever's being
They know what's
presented.
going on. That's the same plan was, we talked about this same plan 2 to 3 months ago as an association group. And also, the invite had been to the other 3 departments. I tell them when we meeting, for the committee meeting. However, I said, we don't want you to just talk or anything because we're voicing, because we're trying to keep it a very productive meeting. That's the way the committee was set up. However, everyone should be 100% aware of what's going on. It's, I
So-
can't, you can take a horse to water, but you can't. make it
No,
go.
I know, I'm not necessarily saying being aware of what's going on, I'm saying have a voice. And whether that's a chief at each one and that's it, and not the whole board or what, I don't know what.
They have a voice once a month. But I'm sorry, they don't come to me. We may have a quorum,
Yeah.
but
I just want to make sure,
John's got to.
Josh, you. No.
What now?
What did you say?
No,
No, I mean, what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna speak for who the citizens I represent. I want a voice for the Blue Ridge Mountain and the district I represent. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not picking who, but I'm saying somebody up there needs to be involved because when somebody on your board talked to me saying that they said one of the plans that was discussed, they're not saying which one was picked, but they said one of the plans was possibly taking the ambulance off the mountain. That's a concern for me because the mountain has a high call volume. So I think someone from the mountain or our district needs to be in there and have a voice on that board.
Is there anybody from that station coming?
So,
Earl comes to the meeting, but he's not part of the committee. So he does, he's more than glad, and I've told him and Eric and Josh Smith, that they all 3 can come to the meeting and listen. And to bring the concern back to our monthly association meeting or whatnot.
Well, Earl wasn't in attendance at the first meeting, but I guess he didn't come to the second meeting.
Yeah, he's been to all special.
Has he?
meetings.
So is it fair to say the opportunity's there and voice is heard or? I'm just asking.
Well, it was stated to all 3 of them that
Gotcha.
they don't have a voice during the meeting.
Gotcha.
Because we don't want to make it a long, 7 different or 8 or 9 different opinions. And we're just like we had last month with this meeting. We got,
That's fun.
so that's where it was. And, and again, I can't figure out what you all want because company 5 is not the number 1 problem that's all existed, but the big problem child. So why in the hell have them involved?
well, they still have, I mean, even, okay, just hypothetically speaking, if we separate EMS, the ambulance, from the fire, there's still a fire presence that needs to be dealt with on there. And if you're presenting plans that include fire or some type of fire coverage, it still needs to be a consideration. And I'm just saying, them, Bakerton, rather Bakerton saying, I'm out of the ambulance business, there's still fire to consider.
Well, that's-
Because it's one of the fire.
Again, that's been the thing from day one, maybe not to that extent, but there has been talk about fire staffing in this proposed plan at the association level, but prior to any special committee being made. Again, the information is out there. I can't, I'm sorry that it just can't over go understand it. But
You can't make it.
no. You know, and the monthly minutes are sent out to them. I even sent the last, not this past one, but the one before bullet points, she's the secretary, so I have her, asked her to come to these committee meetings to take notes. And it's more or less, she's just breaking up bullet points and things of discussion, but it's not a crew meeting, it's just a committee of discussing. I don't know, I mean, I don't have any intent of changing anything the way it is right now.
I mean, it don't have to be Chief Five as the mountain representative. They do have president, they do have some other people in that department that probably could come down and represent and have a voice. I just would like to see somebody from my district have a voice instead of 3 or 4 departments picking for everybody.
They do that. Y'all have to understand, they have a voice. They can come to every monthly meeting of the Fire Industry Association and have a voice. They just don't have a voice at this committee meeting because we're trying to keep it downsized to be more productive. That was all, and that was set at an association meeting level. And I'm sorry that a couple of them weren't at that meeting. But that was even decided, agreed upon with Claire and Steve. So, you know, we all want people. Take it easy too, I can't help it. Right, so, you know, I'm not discriminating against anyone. But me as a chairman, I decided to put those individuals on that, those departments, I should say, and not the other. That's why, and I'm not gonna throw a in her book, but since he was the chairman, I said, I feel the chairman should have a seat at the table. It's, you know, you, or you can pick someone, so,
I agree the chairman should be there as well, no matter.
yeah, so I don't care about that, but
I think.
But you have three representatives from Shepherdstown on that board. I understand he said it's one
no,
vote.
we have 3 members that are members of Shepherdstown. I know it probably looks bad, but he is the member representing Shepherdstown. I'm just the ex officio, because I'm the chairman of the association.
Well, we all know why
And
3 has more representation, because they care more. Not to, maybe that sounded bad, but no one has talked more about the problem or the concerns from the volunteers than that guy.
Yeah, that's true.
Or that guy. So you can't, and when it first came out, I'll be honest, I was like, well, there's 3.
Right.
But then I sat there and I went, you know why there's 3? Because those 3 people seem to want to take care of the problem more than anybody else out in the stations. I mean, I've been here for, I don't know how many years. There's one guy who comes here every month, and it's not from any other station than Station 3. And he and I have differences in what's going on. But I will tell you that no one in this county has more vested in this than Marshall does. And if anybody wants to, but we never see anybody from the mountain here. We always talk about the mountain having problems. I don't see anybody coming to be part of the solution. So, you know, so this is not going to be easy, but at least the 3 people from Station 3, they come to every meeting. They're always there. They're going to give their opinion. That's more than I can say for a lot of people who sit back and talk online, or I heard this and I heard that, and I told my buddy this, and somebody's as transparent as it can be right there. It might not like what he says, but he says it. He's not worried about anybody not liking it. That's good stuff for me. But yeah, I think we've gone far enough along with the development that to change who's, and I think what you said earlier, we don't have a design from this board.
That's kind of my thoughts.
And
Yeah.
to it seems to me that it's the departments and the commission coming together, giving a little, taking a little, and then when we get the email and see what the association brought forward, then we can have more of a discussion, because I haven't seen it. So, I mean, I think we're kind of talking about something that we're talking about something here, and the boat is
Yeah.
a couple miles down the river already. So,
But I have no intention of changing the committee. I mean, as far as this board wants to change representation, that's up to them, but the makeup committee, I have no intention of changing that at all. I think this past meeting was probably the best of the three. That we sat down and we presented our plan, with 3 options, and it was, I think, pretty receptive. So I agree, I don't want to change the ship in the middle of the ocean right now myself either. The biggest thing is, and I told Steve this before too, he keeps saying there's a lot of misrepresentation, but the only misrepresentation is he's not feeding back, he or Claire is not getting the other commissioners back the proper information that is talked about at the meeting. Now, I don't know if it's intentional or just that's so he plays Steve's demeanor is, I don't know, but it's not getting portrayed back. You know, one meeting he said there's a mixed bag of opinions. There's never been a mixed bag of opinions. There's been 2 opinions. Fire departments, 2 commissioners. That's only 2 opinions, but the way he made it sound like was the volunteer fire department, we have a mixed bag of opinions. We don't. The other thing was when we all decided collaboratively to have Director Burners come up with a plan and bring it back to the committee so we could dash it out and go forward from there. Agreed upon, that didn't happen. He decided to go and take it to you all prior to the committee, which I think is dead wrong. But again, you know, I don't want to keep on beating dead horses back because now we have a good plan, I feel, to deliberate on and whatnot, and so we'll move from there. But as far as this board, if you want to change representation, I have no say in that.
I don't believe we should change it. I just believe we should add a citizens rep to it. Because I don't think Twiggy's gonna misrepresent us. I just think the
No, yeah.
citizens, I just think it's a good faith of having a citizens rep there. I also agree with what Tony says. I still think we should have a citizens rep. I mean, where are you at on that? I think because we all kind of said that. Where you?
Yeah, I agree.
Then would it be fair to say, put a motion forward to?
Nominate yourself.
No, oh, yeah, we better nominate somebody. Who's got the time to do it? I knew you were gonna do that too. I was gonna do it for you.
hey, you know,
Steve, you wanna do it?
And as far as the ex officio,
With everything
we
I've
have
got
no
going.
problem adding a citizens rep to the committee.
What, Thursday?
The next meeting, we don't have a set night, but the next meeting we decide on this.
We'll move them around based on availability.
Yeah, mostly they're at independent fire company, but they were running out this past, I don't know if we had to over time.
I say this or the BYOB or?
BYOB.
I wouldn't bring it.
It's always BYOB.
I think
Yeah,
that I wrote
I mean,
the
The
letter
citizen,
too.
the citizens rep has to bring it, right?
Yeah, but there is no set night.
That seems fair, actually.
I think when I wrote
But the next
the
meeting is
email
the
like
28th.
as well, I took myself out of the equation, so.
Is that making sense of kind of what I was saying though? I feel like it's just good faith for the public. to
Yeah.
get citizens
I'm
rep
not
there.
with that at all. I'm just one voice, yeah.
I'm not nominating myself though. I'm nominating Josh. I'm nominating Tony.
I'll say.
I nominate Jacob Harris to serve as the citizens rep.
I can do better yet. I can appoint you.
You can't, let's do it. All right. Yeah, move down.
Okay.
All right, I'll be there.
It's right now, it's scheduled to be an independent next Thursday, 28th at 7 p.m.
You better write that down so you don't forget.
Yeah, I better swap numbers.
Give me your email. That way I'll include you in it.
Anything else with this?
Is there anything we can do about item 2 at all? I mean, I know they were saying if we can help at all, just.
Well, what I was saying was help with getting the the police officers, AEDs and stuff. I mean, I know down the road, we have not every police officer, but a whole lot of them carry AEDs. And a lot of times they've gotten to cardiac arrest calls before an ambulance
Yeah, exactly.
and started care. So,
I
yeah,
guess I
that's,
didn't know the deputies didn't have.
Hmm?
I guess I didn't know the deputies did not
Well,
have.
I was astounded to find out
That's,
that the
that's
majority of law
interesting.
enforcement didn't, you know, so,
do you guys carry one?
Absolutely.
yeah. When I had my small department, we only had 20 some officers.
We
but
all have to
every
be
officer had it.
EMTs.
They're like Swiss Army knives. Park rangers aren't just cops.
Yeah, that's right.
Swiss Army knives, they do it all.
We're good at nothing now. Jack of all trades, good at nothing.
But I think it is a good idea, Steve. I mean, seriously, it's a wonderful idea.
All right, anything else on the first two? All right, the third one was to bring up to the board was restaffing of Middle Way Volunteer Company 6, brought up by Josh Stillwell. I will say before we even go into discussion on this, the committee, and I don't remember what date, but it was last year. It was when they removed them. The committee decided then that would be handled, placement of the personnel would be handled by Bob and his staff, or by whoever the director was and his staff. At that time, it was Alan,
Based on operational needs.
based on operational needs. So and just to go back to what we had before, when you see the plan that the fire department put forward, it puts a unit in Middle Way.
Yeah, I know, it kind of, that's what I was kind of waiting, I was gonna talk about, it might be I might move to just take this out further to wait to see what comes out of this instead of trying to.
Well, there's really nothing we can do now because of that. There's no, because of money.
I mean, their call volume is way up, and, I just felt that the citizens of Middle Way pay an ambulance fee, they deserve the same thing as other citizens in this county. And that's kind of what I was looking out for, because they're paying an ambulance fee just like you are in Shepherdstown, I am on the mountain, and they don't have that service that we're getting, but they're paying for it, and they're not getting it,
Well, they're getting some. I mean,
It's delayed though.
if you look on the back,
I mean, if Middle Way wasn't hired, didn't have their own staff there, then it would be delayed, because they would have to pull from Shepherdstown or Charlestown. But right now, Middle Way is actually paying people to run. Their fundraising money is paying members to run their ambulance, so that's what's helping. But I mean, if it's in the talks, everything's in the talk right now, I mean, we can, I guess, like you said, it could go back to the director if he thinks there's a need.
Has anybody said the difference in the wait time of what it is? So,
Like 5 to 10 minutes, at one time was bouncing around, I heard him talking.
what's the
like
next nearest station?
It depends upon where the call is actually in their area. But if you get with Director Berner, he's got all kinds of numbers that he could actually show you.
Master of Excel over there.
I do what I can.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it just being, I'm a guy about being fair, and I just want to make sure everybody's represented. Like I said, the citizens of Middle Way pay that fee just like I do on the mountain, so they should be getting
and they do.
in their call volume.
They got 14 lead providers out of 45 calls. For for the call volume they get, which is up what, 10% of a monthly call volume. In a perfect world, you're right. I would love for there to be 2 people at every station 24/7. But that's not happening. And we don't have the money to have that happen. We don't have the staff to make that happen as of right now. So
Heck, I would like to see that plus some engine staffed around this county.
Yeah,
It's gonna
But-
happen at some point. It's
And
got to
it
happen.
is
at
gonna
some
happen at some point.
I mean, we're allowing, I know this ain't what we do here, but all the growth that's coming in this county, I mean, it's correct, the houses are going up everywhere. I mean, we're gonna be outnumbered if something don't change, soon. We're gonna have to do something.
We're already outnumbered.
Well, yeah.
That was my point a couple weeks ago. We've been behind the curve for a long time. So
And if we look, I mean, if you start looking at where the houses are going up in this county, unless something changes, these numbers will have to change because more of the houses are going for citizens and independent. There's no housing developments in Middleway, none that I know of. There are no big housing developments going on the mountain. Everything's been developed.
But they're building everywhere on that mountain.
Okay,
I just took.
There's
I just got 6 building lots coming to me.
there's not 300 houses that just showed up in the last 6 months. Right across from my house, 300 houses have shown up in the last 6 months.
But what you would have.
And there's another, how many going near you?
Or at least on.
On Flowing Springs Road.
There's like 1,200.
So we're talking hundreds and hundreds for Station 2 and Station 4, where for Station 5, we're talking dozens.
Right.
So I'm just getting people's expectations of what's going to be going on
No,
if we don't get more money involved and everything else, is that more staffing is going to have to come to a centralized location, being 2, 4, and 3, because that's where humans are all the time for the most part. So
That's fair. I mean, I get what you're saying. The way I would look at it is this: is the majority of that ambulance people be coming from the most popular areas, which means they would need them more. So I guess it's kind of like almost, what am I thinking of here? Equal to the number of taxpayers, like say 10% coming from the mountain, that's about what they're getting.
I mean, yeah, the mountain's just huge. I mean, I think we're what, 5,000 or maybe more than that residents now just in Shenandoah.
Yeah, it's still the largest subdivision in the entire state. Has been and is currently.
here's the problem with the Blue Ridge Mountain and the EMS is they haven't been able to provide facilities. The staffing was pulled like a year ago and then we restored it, 6 months ago or a little bit longer, 9 months ago in the public safety house.
Oh, no.
And now there's no water there, so they're already at Station 2. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality we're looking at right today with at least ambulance service.
Do we know if the building has that progressed? Like, I know they had a construction project in plans, but I don't know where it's at.
I don't think we've followed up in quite some time with the progress on that or.
I am by both places frequently, and I haven't seen
The last
additional
I-
work.
anything.
The last I spoke with Chief Kogel, he explained that they were waiting on the outcome of the current plans and whatnot to kind of figure out which direction to go. Because there was going to be a cost associated and, they didn't know whether they would have staffing or not.
Bob, is there a total at the end of these? Well, just for a monthly total of all the calls in the county, or we just break it down by individuals? I was just gonna add it.
Monthly incident volume, top, blue and red, 660
I can do this, I promise.
in March.
Okay. 660, 45, yeah, I mean, that adds up, not right, actually, when you back that out.
I used to provide a lot more.
You see what I mean? Right, so you add the 150. This is the overall cost of that, and then figure out what percentage each district's being represented. It'll obviously be off by line, but it should realistically represent the proportion of citizens on the mountain. If it does, then that's the next conversation we can have with them. But that's your number right there. Sorry, I'm nerd.
No, I'm just. No,
What is it?
I didn't know if you were daydreaming or giving me the death stare.
no, I'm just daydreaming. I didn't know I was looking at you. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's a lot to take in, I know.
Oh,
Okay. Any,
I have one request to Commissioner Jack, if you could, any way possible, to let Marshall and Adam speak if they have on Thursday. That we presented, so you all can have some good discussions. Or if you all want to look at it, then maybe have a special meeting with all five and the committee, whatever. I just feel that's a lot more important, a lot better, a lot more productive if all five of you can be there talking with all of us instead of reporting. And I get the reason why, but we want the whole time all five to be presented at a workshop. I understand all that. Either have them there Thursday, or if y'all want to talk about it, do another special meeting just on this topic.
Still allow them to present the information.
Yeah, so then maybe y'all have more, then we could be a good question and answer session, because I know it has to be a public meeting, that's fine. I mean, basically, it's the same thing as a regular meeting, right? You come in, you get.
Yeah, we just have to
comment.
advertise it and
Right.
open it to the public.
But either have them presented Thursday, so they can do some question and answer session, because they can represent the committee, or have a special meeting only concerning that topic with all five commissioners and the entire committee. We just want to make sure that, and I'm not dogging Steve, but this needs to come right straight from the horse's mouth.
Well,
Yeah, I'll have to,
it's your plan.
Right.
It's the fire association's plan. The fire association should present that plan.
Yeah.
It should not come from Marshall to you, to Steve, and Steve present it to the other commissioners.
Correct.
That's not how
Yeah.
anybody would ever give a.
Right, and the other three commissioners might have a question that no one ever thought of, and it'd be a good time, it'd be a good time to ask, instead of going back and forth. That's all my only question.
well, I mean, when I look at it, if I have questions, I'll just come, we can come to you individually. The problem is having the quorum and
Right.
the open meetings and all that. So if I'm looking at it and have questions, I can ask you or committee members or whatever. I can come to you individually and have my
You
question
can.
asked.
But I still think it'd be more productive if all parties involved at the same table, at the same time.
I will carry that back.
That's all, yeah.
Yeah.
Either this Thursday or have a special meeting. Because it's again, it's a good plan, and this is a very important topic. I just can't stress enough how important it is. There's a lot of things that you aren't considering or even thought about.
I agree. It's a very important topic and it's something that's needed to be addressed for years. And I do agree with the public comment. We need to approach it with the citizens in mind. At the foremost of providing the service in the most cost efficient manner. And that's my intent anyway, is how do we continue to provide service and even begin to think about catching up in stretching the resources that we have now before we say we need more. Using the resources wisely that we have now before we say we need more resources.
all right. Steve Harris, you had something?
Yeah, I would just like to say to this nice young man that came here tonight, spoke to us, that I'd like to thank you for your involvement with the fire service. And I salute you for your willingness to volunteer to do what you're doing. It takes a special person, and it's so nice to see somebody your age is coming forward, volunteering in our community. And I'd just like to say thank you.
If I may, I'd like to say, you are welcome. I do it without hesitation. And I do it because I care about this community. I moved here about 3 years ago when I started at Shepherd, and I've come to love this community Jefferson County and especially Station 3 have become home to me. And I am just doing my part to look out for my community and my home.
All right. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?